Hello everyone, I'm Spiritualist, Psychic Astrologer, and Medium Ray Sette. Thank you once again for welcoming me into your home, into your space, and allowing me to share with you my astrological and spiritual insights to the astrological energies and the spiritual possibilities and potentials of June 2018. Once again, I share with you this information, which I will always acknowledge first and foremost comes through me from Spirit. You know, a big part of what I incorporate in every day of my human experiences is to be very aware, to always certainly ask for protection against any harmful interferences, harmful negative energetic interferences that certainly we are all vulnerable to while we are having this human experience. And I always emphasize for everyone to begin your day from a place of love. Ask Spirit for protection and to keep you away and to be shielded from any harmful energetic interferences which may in some sort of way interfere with your well-being, the clarity about yourself, about your lives, any of your experiences. And you know, I always emphatically ask everyone to just consider incorporating this element into your daily practices, especially now as we go through these next few months. As many of you have heard me discuss in these last few months, how we are approaching our next eclipse season in July and August. And what is significant about this eclipse season is that we have 3 eclipses in a row. And even though it's not so unusual to have 3 eclipses in a row, what's extraordinary about this phenomena is that each one of those eclipses are super moons. And we define the phenomenon as being a super moon is that when a full moon or a new moon is at its closest approach to the Earth in its orbit. The moon, as do all the planets in the Earth, revolve around the Earth in an elliptical orbit. And when the moon is at its closest approach to the Earth in its orbit on a full or a new moon, it is considered a supermoon, and the energies are that much more intensified at that time, so that we can make the most and really embrace the fullest potential of these opportunities, whatever they might be for us on a personal level. Keep yourself grounded with the energy of the Earth. Clear your energy field on a regular basis. Be aware of all the tools that are available to you in terms of understanding practices, exercises, principles to incorporate in your lives. You know, Spirit is always very available to us to share with us in its higher knowing, especially regarding how we can keep ourselves protected, grounded, and really make the most of these experiences as well as these unprecedented times during our creative evolution. And one of the elements that I would like to begin discussing as we begin June, on June 1st, there's very much a unique alignment that takes place, and I don't want to get too technical as to its configuration, and when you look at it, it looks as though it forms the outline of a kite. A kite aspect alignment in astrology, it connects with a turning point. Some may call it a destiny point. It toggles between fate and destiny. I will always emphasize more so the destiny element. I was taught a long time ago that fate suggests we really have no control over what we are experiencing, And destiny is quite honestly just the opposite. Destiny suggests that we are very much instrumental in creating and co-creating all the experiences that come to pass in our lives, personally as well as collectively. I've said many times, whatever manifests in the physical world is a reflection of whatever is generating, germinating, festering, if you will, within the collective unconsciousness of the entirety of humanity. And in these last few years, we are observing so many unpleasantries in the outer world, and it's simply a release of all the imbalances that we have set in motion over many, many years, thousands of years, many millennia. And now is the time to cleanse, clear, and purge ourselves of these imbalances. There are theories that it's either our solar system or our galaxy, and as it's progressing on its path, because everything in the universe is in motion, nothing is stagnant, just as our planets revolve around the sun, our solar system revolves around the center of our Milky Way galaxy, and that galaxy in and of itself is also revolving around a center focal point where we believe there exists a super massive black hole. If you can imagine it all as being just a disk, there is a belt of light that surrounds that disk, and it's called a photon belt. And our solar system is actually progressing into that photon belt, that which marks the beginning of a 2,000-year time period of our evolution into a place of light and love. And I would like to emphasize this love element at this time, because as I began saying, and sometimes we go off on a tangent when we talk about these things. On June 1st, there's a very unique alignment, and it consists of Neptune, Venus, which is the element of love, Jupiter, as well as the Moon and Pluto. And those elements form a kite formation. This alignment is a time of opportunity that can be demonstrated with effortless ease, or with ease and grace. And what is prominent in that alignment is the recognition and the understanding of the power of love. This understanding also connects with spiritual love. When we refer to spiritual love, that element transcends the human experience. This is the element which created all things, and created it so very much from an evolutionary standpoint. And we are being given this opportunity to fully embrace this higher knowing for ourselves personally. And when we have allowed ourselves to accept and embrace this knowing, and then demonstrate that knowing in our everyday experiences, then we begin to observe a powerful and profound change in the outer world. And I am emphatically emphasizing the embracing of this knowing, because we are at a destiny point. We're at a turning point where the course of evolution, our creative evolution, because at the spiritual level there's no difference, there's no separation between creation and evolution, and we are being given the opportunity to understand that. And as I'm continuing to suggest, in every moment of every day, allow yourself to recognize the element of spiritual love, your connection with source, with whatever that might be for you, because there's no wrong or right. It's whatever resonates with you when we talk about that element of source, of love, of God, if you will, because it's really all the same. And whatever deity, if you will, resonates with you, that's really what we suggest you embrace, and embrace it from a place of love. As I said earlier, we are moving into a time of intensified light. And certainly there's really no turning back from this point. And I will emphasize that eventually, just as when we leave the physical form, eventually our being returns to that place of love. Whatever path it will choose to get to that place of love is certainly based upon the individual's free will. And as I'm saying, we're moving to a place of profound love because we are being infused with a tremendous amount of light right now. So every one of us can certainly choose to get to that place of profound love through turbulence or with grace and ease. And I do emphasize that as we go through these next few months, this is the turning point as to what direction that path will unfold. So be very clear in choosing in every moment of every day all things from a place of love. As I said, June 1st is when this alignment is very much exacting. It actually will last from June 1st to June 2nd. So I suggest on that day, in whatever way and manner resonates with you and that you're comfortable with engaging with, just let yourself receive love. Allow yourself to be very peaceful and just ask Spirit from a place of love to show you the way and to be infused with the knowing of love. Love is already present within us. It's whether or not we have recognized the knowing of that element of love that is within us. So on that day, let yourself, in your prayers, in your meditations, ask for the clarity of the knowing of the presence of love that is already within you. I certainly, as I said, went off on a little bit of a tangent with that, and I will continue sharing these points as we go through these next few months. And I did want to be very clear with conveying this understanding of the power of love that is already existent in every one of us. So choose to receive that knowing. All right. On June 13th, we have our next new moon. Now, this new moon, it's in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is the element of communication among many things. And one of the insights that I do share with everyone is how I have observed how we are in such times of advanced communication, advanced forms of communication, and we've simply forgotten how to communicate with one another. We're so very much consumed by our devices, the computers, the phones, not to mention the Wi-Fi and all the other electromagnetic interferences that are very present during these unprecedented times. And it does not mean that those elements do not serve a greater purpose. They certainly can serve a higher purpose. However, when we need those devices, then that interferes with our demonstrating our greatest potential. So I certainly suggest on this new moon, if you find yourself being a little too consumed by the need to have the device, to connect with the device, let yourself have the courage to recognize, or rather to eliminate and release that need. On the new moon, there is a bit of a challenging alignment with Neptune. And the challenge with that is that we need to be very aware to not allow ourselves to be confused, misguided, misdirected by information that is coming to us from the outer world, hence conventional media, the news, for example. This alignment suggests that we may be bombarded with information that will confuse and derail us. And as I always emphasize, any alignment has a silver lining when we are aware how to change our frequency and vibration to connect with the higher vibrational opportunity of the alignment. And whenever Neptune is present and significant, it is suggested and we are inspired to go within, to quiet the mind and go within, because that's where the clarity and the guidance will be given to us and shared with us from Spirit. So part of what we can infuse and set in motion at this new moon is the ability to be very clear and receptive with the information that comes through from the spirit realm that will always guide us, inspire us from a place of love. As I said earlier, Neptune is the element of spiritual love, love which transcends the physical form, and it is that love which created all things from an evolutionary standpoint. So let yourself be very aware of what may be very confusing and derailing from sources in the outer world. Quiet your mind. Go within. When we quiet our mind, that's when we receive and we can hear with crystal clarity the information from Spirit that will serve a greater purpose for ourselves as well as the entirety of humanity. In June, we have 2 planets moving retrograde. And as I'm talking about Neptune, Neptune is one of those planets. On June 18th, Neptune will move retrograde. And what I suggest during this Neptune retrograde is allow yourselves to recognize sometimes we have very subtle emotions that sometimes interfere with us allowing ourselves to really connect with our greatest potential. During this Neptune retrograde, allow yourself the courage to recognize whatever deep-seated, specifically emotional conditions may interfere with you demonstrating your greatest potential and allowing yourself to really experience love and joy. More so, love for yourself. During this Neptune retrograde, as well as the alignment that I referred to on June 1st, allow yourself the courage to see love within yourself, but also observe yourself, love yourself from a place of unconditionality with no judgment, whatever that might be for you. The other element that we have moving retrograde in June is Mars, and on June 26th, Mars will move retrograde. Mars moves retrograde every 2 years, and when Mars moves retrograde, it's simply a time to recharge your battery. Mars is the element of energy, and this Mars retrograde is in the sign of Aquarius. That's another reason to be that much more aware, to keep yourself energetically grounded and connected to the energy of the earth, because Aquarius is the sign that connects and represents electricity. The Mars retrograde can create much static electricity, unbalanced electricity. So it's that much more suggested to keep ourselves grounded with the energy of the earth. And just like an electrical outlet has a grounding pole so that things don't short circuit, our appliances don't short circuit, so that we don't short circuit, especially during a Mars retrograde. Be very aware, become abundantly aware to connect with the energy of the earth on a daily basis. During meditations, surround yourselves with selenite. Perhaps sit next to a huge, massive oak tree and allow that element to infuse that grounding quality with you and the energy of the earth. And watch how, if you have been feeling somewhat lethargic, how when Mars moves direct, you feel as though your battery has been recharged. That's one of the manners that you can make the most of the Mars retrograde. On June 21st, we have the summer solstice. The sun moves into the sign of Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon represents our emotions, our foundations, and our home life. So it is always suggested that when the sun is in the sign of Cancer, that we become very aware of our homes and to create an energetically balanced and peaceful home environment. Perhaps explore how the placement of certain elements like crystals, salt lamps around your home will assist in infusing a very peaceful quality in your home. And do so while the sun is in the sign of Cancer. That sign also represents, because it's ruled by the moon, represents the ability to be very empathic, especially with the emotions of other people. During this time, perhaps become that much more empathic to your own emotions and your own sense of self. And if there are any imbalances regarding that, have the courage to correct those imbalances. And finally, we have a full moon on June 28th. And our full moon is in the sign of Capricorn. And what is significant about the full moon, this full moon alignment, is that the moon and Saturn are right next to each other. And they're at the highest point in the chart. Saturn represents, among many things, the leaders, the government, authority. We need to allow ourselves to be very aware to not be energetically suppressed, oppressed by whatever might be taking place in the outer world, especially as we go through these next few months. This full moon is allowing us to really recognize that our government is not necessarily something that is designed to overpower us. Our government has been created so that it will work for us. It's that saying by Abraham Lincoln, and I'm not completely it's not completely clear in my mind right now, and I didn't put it in my notes, regarding a government by the people, for the people, by the people. And I've talked about this in many writings, how this element, this higher knowing, is really coming together. It's solidifying, it's crystallizing in our country. And certainly there are forces in the outer world, and some may refer to it as the underworld, that do not want us to recognize our power. When every one of us, when we the people, understand and fully know our power from a place of love, nothing in the outer world, including the government, has any power over us. And we must demonstrate this knowing from a place of love and humility. This is not suggested that we overthrow the government, that we become unlawful. We must allow ourselves to remain in a place of love and humility, and not ego and greed. That ego and greed element is very much dissolving in the outer world. This full moon on June 28th emphatically emphasizes power to the people from a place of love. Once again, everyone, I know this has been a little bit longer than I usually choose to create these videos, so I thank you for having this patience with me. I trust that the information has been clear. I always ask Spirit to assist me in creating these elements, these videos, whether it's the videos or the writings, from a place of love, without any interferences. So I am trusting that what I have shared with you has inspired you to recognize the greatest potential within yourself from a place of love. Also, allow yourself, always recognize whatever it is that you are passionate about in your life that really connects with your path, your purpose, and your destiny. Have the courage to embrace that knowing and follow through on your path, because that passion, that destiny, is really what has been intended for you to bring to form, that will contribute to raising the consciousness of the entirety of humanity. So once again, thank you for the patience. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share with you what Spirit has shared with me, that comes through my higher self, which every one of us has the potential to connect and be clear with the recognition of the element of the higher self. Once again, I'm Spiritualist, Psychic, Astrologer, and Medium, Sette. I thank you again for sharing this time with me. Namaste.